Good morning, and it's Mick Pavey again with an update on Serabi Gold. And more importantly, this is an update on using my research assistant, Cedric. And you'll remember we covered using Cedric within Perplexity Spaces in webinar 2 in this series of 3. Previously, I'd used Cedric to create an estimate of the full year 24 results. If I just go back slightly, this was on the 13th of April. Cedric had created a revised estimate. I prompted him to use as up-to-date data as was possible, and he came up with the revised estimate dated 13th of April, 82.2 million full year revenue, profit before tax 19.2 million, earnings per share 19.8 cents, free cash flow 13.6 million. And that was using the production figures and obviously using gold prices as provided by way of a chart so that he could use the estimated gold prices. And that increase from the previous estimate to the revised estimate, you can see here, he based that on higher than expected gold prices in Q4 24. Obviously, the grade improvements at Palito, that's one of the mines at Serabi. Strong operational performance at Coringa, this is the other main mine, and better cost control. And they talked about the impact on the full year 25 forecast. So that was on the 13th of April. Now, the full year results came out this morning, and they were released at 7 o'clock on the RNS system on the London Stock Exchange. I prompted Cedric to provide me a fully detailed comparison of those results with the actual results from the previous forecast above, that was the 13th of April, and tabulate the results. And he's then done that. As you can see, this report here presents the financial data. So we've got his 13th of April forecast, 82.2, the actual results, and you can see side by side that they're bang on. And this to me is a key point about using AI to help us as DIY investors. We can get an advantage by using the technology, programming a research assistant, using publicly available data, in this case, the RNS announcements from Serabi Gold for production, and using publicly available information about gold prices, put the two together, and we can work out for ourselves the likely full year results before they're known. And we can then make our investing decisions accordingly. Powerful stuff, in my opinion. And these are bang on the nose. The variance is 0, as you can see. Now, Cedric might be looking for a pay rise, I'm not sure, but he goes on and gives the operational performance analysis. But I wasn't happy just with that single prompt and that single response. This leads me on to what I think is a really key point for us as DIY investors. We need to use AI, understand what it is that AI has done, and then go back and tweak the prompts, by which I mean the user prompt as opposed to the system prompt. I went on and said, thanks, Cedric. Now please provide a much longer analysis of the results and add a section on the post-period commentary in the results, if any. Provide an updated estimate of full year 2025 results based on the above. And I've told him to output his normal Cedric style report, which is set in the system prompt. He then goes ahead and does that and produces the analysis in the table, which you can see on the screen here. And he's done the H1'25 and H2'25 forecast, compared it with ShareScope's estimate for full year 25 and an analyst's estimate. And then he says our calculated forecast. Now, to my mind, when I see AI doing this, and I wouldn't have discovered this if I hadn't set this up to produce tabulated results, because if I'd have just taken the results as given, I'd have said, that's good. That's higher than the ShareScope estimate, higher than this year. All looks good. Thank you very much. But you can see here that all the way down, Cedric's forecast is exactly the analyst's forecast. Now, to me, that is slightly lazy because we are at the end of April. We're a third of the way through financial year 2025. Q1 has finished. We have production figures for Q1 from Serabi Gold. Clearly, we know what the gold price has done between the 1st of January and the 30th of April when I'm recording this. So we've got gold price information, we've got Q1 production information, and it doesn't look as though Cedric's done that. he goes on with the performance and the operating highlights and the financial position in the normal format. Now, that's all available to my members at DIY Investors. But let's come down to my third prompt. And I've said, Cedric, please do your own calculations for the full year 2025 results and detail these for me in an explanatory way, giving assumptions. I want to see his calculations. I want to see him do Q1 actual production at Serabi times the actual gold price. That's pretty much fixed in stone because we're now at the end of April, a third of the way through Q2. So he ought to be able to then estimate Q2 and go on and sensibly estimate Q3 and Q4. And that's what he does. He then goes on and looks at the production, actual reported figure for Q1. And then we've got Q2 projection based on the continued ramp up at Coringa. Q3, again, a slight improvement. Q4, highest quarter as Coringa reaches optimal production. That's based on information we've been given and gives us the total for full year, 21.3% increase over full year 24. And then you've got the key assumptions and then the revenue forecast quarter by quarter. And this is what I want. So we've got Q1 estimated gold price. That in itself is useful information to take elsewhere when we're analysing gold miners, of course. And then for Serabi, we've got the revenue calculations. We've got the gold revenue, and you can see the calculation, adjustment for sales timing, adjustment for realised price, and then 100.6 million. That represents a 22.4% increase over full year 24 revenue of 82.2 million. And then we've got the cost of sales and the admin expenses and all the rest of it. Gives us the profit, estimated profit before tax, net profit estimates, and then looks at cash flow and gives us free cash flow, cash balance progression through the different quarters, and then a dividend forecast. Cedric believes that Serabi may initiate a dividend in H2 of 2025. And then we got operation efficiency metrics and some assumptions, as you'd expect. And then I've said, coming in with another prompt, please revise his calculations using actual gold prices for Q1 and use production times forecast gold price for Q2 to Q4. Revise the report accordingly. What I picked up in the report that I've just skimmed through was that he'd not used the actual gold prices. If you just take an average based on a forecast, that may be totally different than what the actual price was. And that was the key point that I wanted him to consider. So he's then done a third one and revised the report. So we've got the production and then we've got the gold price assumptions updated. So then in Q1, we've got the actual average price reported in April 2025, 3,313. And then we've got midpoint of analyst range of the forecast. And this table itself has got useful data in it because it's got analyst forecast of price range for Q2, Q3, and Q4. Now, that might be analysts that are focused on Serabi Gold, or that may be sector analysts. You'd need to look into the citations to check that out. But either way, we've got useful information about where the experts think the gold price is going in 2025. The actual Q1 gold price represents a dramatic 28% increase from the end of 2024 levels. Clearly, we can see that from a graph, but what we want is that put into calculations, which he's then done, as you can see. So we've got there the forecast revenue for Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, and a full year 25 total based on those assumptions. And Cedric says this represents a remarkable 92% increase over estimated full year 2024 revenue of 82.2 million. That's colossal, absolutely colossal, both driven by both higher production volumes, 21.3%, and substantially higher gold prices. Like any company, the output is a product of whatever they're producing, in this case gold, and the price you get for that product. And the compounding of those increases of those two factors are significant because providing the costs don't change much, and here you can see operating costs and administrative expenses, and they're pretty consistent with previous estimates. And then we've got profit calculations giving a net profit of 37.5 for full year 25. That's his estimate. That's an earnings per share of 49.6 cents. That represents a 150% increase over the estimated full year. We've then got the cash flow projections, and we look at that, cash position evolution. net cash position at the end of 2025 is interesting, as is a dividend potential. Comparison to previous forecasts, this is what we want, because there's the previous forecast from further up the page, and reprompted, that increases from 100.6 million to 157.8 million. Correspondingly, you can see the percentages on the right-hand side here. Potential dividend per share, year-end net cash, free cash flow, earnings per share, everything is up by using up-to-date data, which needed 3 sets of user prompts to get to the level of detail that I wanted. Now, you could argue that I should have been able to get there in one go. That may or may not be the case. But either way, you need the human in the loop in the interpretation of what your AI research assistant is producing. And that's what I'm trying to get across here. Hope that is coming across, that I've looked at it, not just accepted it, I've queried it, gone back and got him to revise it. And he comes up with a conclusion here. It demonstrates Serabi's Gold exceptional leverage to both production growth and gold price strength. Company's positioned to generate record financial results in 2025, substantial improvements across all key metrics. It says we can accelerate debt reduction, increase capital return to shareholders, as funding for further organic growth, and potential for selective merger and acquisition activity. And all of this was done, if you look at the bottom here, by just after 8 o'clock in the morning. So within the space of 40 minutes, I've been able to carry out some analysis. Now, I'm already invested in Serabi Gold. Had I not been, I probably would have looked at this and very quickly invested in Serabi Gold, especially as the price of it had dropped back a bit in the last few days. It also means that for me as a holder, I'm content to hold, certainly as a medium-term investment over the next 2 or 3 years and possibly longer. This could turn into a mid-sized gold miner with substantial shareholder returns potentially. Do your own research, of course. That goes not only from Cedric's report to me, but from me to you as a viewer. Do your own research. The importance of this video is to put yourself in the loop and interpret the results from the AI research assistant, and then go back and reprompt until you get the output that you are more happy with. There's 31 sources here. I'll just click that briefly and it will list them, and you can see all the data, some that I've uploaded and some that it's gone away and looked at gold price predictions to work out the likely benefit. I said, thanks, Cedric, good work. That brings me to the end of this short broadcast, which I hope you find a useful insight into how I'm using Cedric as a research assistant within Peplexity AI. Thanks for watching. And I should add, do please subscribe to the channel and give us a thumbs up, and look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.